Good morning, ladies. Right, this week we're kind of going back to basics a wee bit. We've done a card like this before, but I'd just like you to do it again. See if you can remember how to do it. Right, it's an inverted nesting card. And I've used three shapes, three nesting dies, all one size lower than the next one. And I've kept it very simple. I've just put a butterfly on it and a sentiment in the centre. I've used, on this one, I've used the same colour. I've used the white. I've embossed the top layer, and I've run an ink pad round the three layers with, it's a purple metallic, would you call it? Yeah. Right, so I'm using, on my demonstration, I'm using black and white just to show you the difference between the layers. Okay, so you start off with, you'll need 2 sheets of the white. If you're using just white, you need 3 sheets of the white. If you're doing it with a different colour, you need 2 sheets of the white and 1 sheet of the other colour. In this instance, I have black. I have 3 nesting dies. This time I'm using hearts. And the biggest one measures 3 by 3 inches. So if you've got any nesting dies at all, you can use them for this, but you need 3, one size smaller than the next. Okay, so your base card, just your usual A4, scored in half, folded, burnish it, and remember, it's not quite 5 7/8, so it's just shy of that. So you just bring it in just that wee bitty, cut it, and that gives you a perfectly square card. Okay, and you can use that for another card. Now you need your largest piece is 5.5 by 5.5. Your next size is 5 1/4 by 5 1/4, and then your smallest size is 5 by 5. Okay. Now we work on the smallest piece first, and your largest die. And you put that on. Now you can measure it to make sure you get it dead in the centre. I'm just doing it by eye, and I'm going to tape it on. Bring the plates in and cut that. Now, if you are embossing the top piece, leave your die in, but take your bit that you've just cut out, take it out, but leave your die in your card. Now, whichever way combination it works for your machine, play about with it first before you actually do the embossing on this part, just to get the combination right. because sometimes you have to use different combinations. I've my Gemini plates, so I've got my bottom plate and, sorry, I need my embossing folder, and it's just an ordinary embossing folder. It's not a deep cut one or anything like that. It's just an ordinary embossing folder. Now, it depends if you want the embossing to be embossed. It's the side that's got the indents in it that you're working on. If you want it to be debossed, you use the other side. So on my plate, put my embossing folder, and this is my indented side, and I'm leaving the die in, and I'm putting it on face up. Now, we don't close the folder. I have this mat it's slightly thicker than the mat that you get with the Gemini machine. That's a black mat. If that's the only one you've got, that's how I'm asking you to play about with it, because you might need to put in a couple of cardboard shims. So the mat is on top, the die's facing up the way the mat goes on top, and then it's my cutting plate. And that's the combination that works for me using this machine, using that mat. As I say, play about with it on spare card first before you actually do your card. Until you get the combination right for your machine. And there we go. And by leaving the die in, you still get your embossed edge on your die cut. If you were to just take the die out, the embossing would come right to the edge, and you lose that rounded edge, or what do they call it? Like a cantilevered edge round the edge of where your die's been. So let's put all this away. So that's how you emboss it. But I'm just embossing the top layer. Now, for your next size, I have a tape runner, and this is a repositionable one. So I'm just going to put a bit in each corner. And I'm going to put it on the next layer evenly. And then I take my next size down die and position it and put it in place. Then I take this layer off, and then I would cut that. Right, so I'll just do it while I'm here. And then I would just take that, the whole lot out. And again, get my tape runner, wee bit of tape in two corners, lay it evenly on my card. And then get my smallest size. Kind of pick that up. And again, do the same. put it in and tape it down. And then take that piece out. And then cut that out. And then when you put that on, and then you've got 3 shapes to put on another card. And then that goes on there like that. So that gives you your 3 shapes. Now, if you want, you don't have to do this, but if you want, you can score your edges on your bottom 2. Now, this one. I'm using, I think it's about a 3mm ball tool. And I put it on, and I'm keeping it straight up and down, and just running it down the edge of my card. And I do that on all 4 edges. Right, and that gives you, and then when you go to put your next size on, that gives you a guide for it fitting in. But I've got one here that's not stuck down yet. My base card, I put my biggest size on, like that. And I marked with a pencil the outline shape of the heart. I stamped a sentiment on it, and I heat embossed it. Okay, and as you can see, I went round the edge of, and I also went round this one. I went round it with a gold pen. I'm not actually too keen on it, but I'll let you see how I did it. I just got a gold Sharpie pen, and very lightly I just touched the edge of the cutout. And it kind of hits the embossed edge, so that gives you a guide. But I'm barely touching the card at all, and I just want to give it a, and then for the edge, I just want to run it up so that it's just touching and no more. Can't really see that. Yeah, you see it now. There you go. And you do that on all 3 of the shapes. And that gives you a nice finish. So, put this together. So I've put foam tape on the back of all my sizes because I want to lift it all up. This is what takes most of the time, is taking the back off the tape. Now, it's easier for this because it's a certain shape. So I know what way my pieces are going to fit on top of one another. But with this one, what I did was I put the 3 pieces together before I put the tape on, and I marked it at the top on the back of each piece so I knew which was the top and which was the bottom. Because if you don't actually have your shape, your first shape right in the centre, it puts the rest of them off. Although you've got the same space in between each one, it could potentially be slightly different when you're putting them together. You'll see when you're doing it. If you make sure you mark the back of the top of each shape when you do it, so that you know that's got to be at the top and you know it's going to fit. Okay? That's as clear as mud, I can tell. All right. And this is when your edges come in, because you can get it placed easier if your edges, now that's slightly squint, bum, you should be looking, and if they're looking that closely they shouldn't be. Last one. And there we go. And that's your 3 sizes on. And I've cut out, this time I did a different butterfly. This one, you emboss it, so I've embossed it. And I've cut it out in gold. And I'm going to put a wee foam pad behind it. Right. I just want to give the edges a wee bit of shape and a wee bit of glue in the centre. Just hold that down for a minute. And I'm going to use black for the and 2 dots for the antennas. And if you get your pokey tool and just go in and just scrape it down, and that gives you your antennas. And I'm just going to use gold. And there you go. That's a black and white one. Now, as I say, you can decorate it any way you want. You don't have to do the same as I do. You can even put a die cut sentiment in the centre if you want. It's up to yourself what you do. But as I say, I've just done it with butterflies this week. And I might do some more Nuvo drops just to brighten it up a bit, because it seems to be awful flat. Okay, so happy crafting.